because you played against Larry Bird as well. That he was the biggest trash talker that I've ever seen.
Ever.
I swear to God, you'd have loved playing against him because the dude would just tell you where he's going, shoot it in your face, talk to you.
Draw up a play for me and give me the ball and get out of my way. And that was the end of the X and O's.
They say every era has its greatest talker. But in the 1980s, that title didn't belong to a loudmouth or a showman. It belonged to a quiet kid from French Lick, Indiana, who could embarrass you with nothing more than a sentence and a smirk. Larry Bird didn't just talk trash, he lived it, and he did it in a way no one else could. Calm, clever, and absolutely ruthless. He'd tell you the exact spot he was gonna hit from, then hit it. He'd joke about your defense, your shoes, even your haircut, all while dropping 40 on your head. But here's the thing, Bird's trash talk wasn't just intimidation, it was borderline hilarious. His timing was perfect, his delivery was cold, and half the time, even the guys he roasted couldn't help but laugh. Because the moment Larry uttered words out of his mouth, they knew something legendary was about to happen. In this video, we're revisiting the most unforgettable Larry Bird trash talk story ever told. Moments that capture the full picture of what made him so unique. From roasting players before a three-point contest, to sparking an actual fight with Dr. J, to clowning the Showtime Lakers with jokes mid-game. These stories prove one thing. Bird's greatness wasn't just in his shooting touch or basketball IQ. It was in the way he made the game his stage, controlling it with his mind as much as his skill. It was All-Star Weekend, 1986. The NBA had just introduced a brand new event, the three-point contest. The league's best shooters had gathered in Dallas, each one confident, each one ready to claim the first ever crown. And of those hopeful players was Norm Nixon. Norm Nixon was one of the NBA's smoothest guards of the late 70s and 80s, a two-time All-Star and key playmaker for the Showtime Lakers. He was known for his speed and court vision, but when Larry Bird walked into that locker room, something shifted. The energy changed. Players who were taking the moment in suddenly got humbled because everyone in that room knew what kind of competitor had just walked in.
So that year, they put me in a three-point shoot. I'm like, oh man, I didn't shoot threes. I never practiced for it. So we go back and we back getting ready to shoot it. So Larry walks in. He goes, "No, everybody here shoot for second place." And I was so mad that I hadn't practiced, so I could at least do something.
Bird didn't need to make a scene. He just had that presence, the kind that made everyone else aware this wasn't just another night. For him, this was a chance to make a statement. The thing about Larry was he always backed up everything he said. No matter how bold it sounded, you knew he'd find a way to make it real. And that confidence alone was enough to make everyone else second-guess themselves before the contest even began. When his turn finally came, there was no warm-up, no theatrics, just quiet confidence. And what followed didn't even feel like competition. It felt like inevitability.
Everybody going for second place. Then he went out and won the shit, right?
By the time it was over, everyone in that arena understood exactly what had just happened. The first ever three-point contest had found its champion, and its attitude.
That chick's had my name on it for a week now, and I knew I was going to win this thing. I've been practicing, and my teammates said I wasn't going to win it, but I came back and lucked out, really.
In one night, Larry Bird turned a brand new event into a signature moment. Not with words, not with celebration, but with complete effortless dominance. Years later, long after Bird had retired, the story was still circulating. Younger players and even fellow legends would bring it up, asking if it really happened that way. They'd heard the stories, the jacket, the confidence, the walk-off, but it sounded too unreal to be true. Veterans who were there would just nod and smile, confirming every word.
No question, you at the three-point competition, walking in the locker room, who's playing? Did you really say that? Who's playing for second?
Yeah, I did. I poor so bad.
Even decades later, the disbelief never faded, because that story wasn't just about a contest. It was about who Larry Bird was. A player so confident, so certain of his game, that his legend kept growing long after he stopped playing. However, for Norm, it wasn't the end of his story. Not long after, fate lined things up for another meeting. Celtics versus Clippers. It was his chance to see Bird again, this time in live action, not a locker room. But before the game even started, Bird made sure Norm knew exactly what kind of night it was going to be.
So now we go to Boston. At that time, I was playing with Cedric. Maxwell was on the Clippers. No, he walked on the court like, Norm, all threes tonight. I'm shooting all three. I said, Maxwell gonna lock you up. I said, Max coming up here to lock you up here in Boston.
Larry told him straight up that he wasn't planning to do anything fancy. He was only going to shoot threes, and he was going to attack Norm's teammate, Cedric Maxwell, every chance he got. Then, with that same deadpan expression, he said there wasn't a thing Nixon could do about it. Norm didn't back down right away. He laughed it off, telling Bird that Cedric Maxwell would lock him up, and that there was no way he'd stick to just shooting threes. To him, it sounded like classic Bird bluffing, until the game started and every word suddenly turned real. For most players, that would have sounded like empty trash talk. But this was Larry Bird, the one guy in the league who made a habit of turning his words into prophecy. And as the game went on, that's exactly what he did.
Walton and Donaldson. Bird again. Larry's saying to the crowd here, this is what you came to see, huh? No. Gets his own rebound. Bridgman. Ainge kept it alive, and the Celtics have a chance to take the lead here with 5.5 to play. Bird. Yes, and a foul! 3 straight for Larry Bird. The foul will be on Derek Smith.
Every time he rose up from deep or called out a spot on the floor, he was proving a point. Not just to Norm, but to everyone watching. Bird wasn't just confident, he was surgical. He told you the script, then made you live through it. Then came the moment that sealed the story. Bird got the ball on the wing and calmly buried a 3. Next possession, another. The Clippers' defense started scrambling, but it didn't matter. On the third play, Bird drove inside, pulled up over Derek Smith, took the contact, and still knocked down the jumper. The whistle blew and won.
So we started the game. He's at the 3. He took a shot and somebody hit him and he fell down. I think I was on the other side of the court. So he's on the ground like this, looking for me.
The crowd was in awe while Bird just looked composed and unbothered. 3 straight baskets. The last one, pure skill and confidence. The exact performance he'd promised before tip-off. And for Norm Nixon, that second encounter only cemented what everyone already knew. When Larry Bird said something, you could count on him backing it up.
So, now Larry talked, man. Coop tells me stories about him, too.
Yeah, he talked more than anybody I've ever seen on
and
basketball.
And backed it up, though.
And that's what I said.
For Norm, that game was the moment he finally understood what so many others had gone through. The way Bird called his shots, backed up every word, and made it look effortless. It wasn't just frustrating, it was humbling. And as Norm later joked, that must have been exactly how Dr. J felt. Because when Larry Bird did the same thing to Julius Erving, talking, scoring, and smirking the whole way, the outcome wasn't just embarrassment.
That's why Doc, you remember if you look at the tape, Doc called him at half court and grabbed him, punched him about 8 times.
Yeah.
But Larry, it wasn't even halftime. I don't know how many points. He must have had 22. It was some crazy number of points in the first half.
As we all know now, it turned into one of the most infamous fights in NBA history. The rivalry between Larry Bird and Julius Erving was one of the defining clashes of the 1980s. 2 former MVPs, 2 faces of their franchises. Bird representing grit and precision, Dr. J representing grace and flair. Every time the Celtics and 76ers met, it was a battle for bragging rights. But one night, that rivalry turned into something unforgettable.
And here's Moses. Wait a minute.
That's Barkley.
Oh, there is
yeah. And look at
Jay hitting Bird as he's being held from behind by Barkley and Moses Malone. Nice going, guys.
Yeah, nice shots, guys. I want to believe Jay has a lot more class than that, but that was pretty bush what you just saw.
It started like any other game. High energy, tight score. Two legends trading buckets. But soon, Bird started heating up. Every possession, he found new ways to get open, hitting jumper after jumper over Erving's outstretched hand. The more shots he made, the more he talked. Not in anger, just that calm, cutting tone that got under your skin. By halftime, Bird was on fire. He was hitting everything, mid-range, baseline, top of the key, and every make came with a line, a look, or a grin. For most players, it was funny. For Dr. J, it was different. He was one of the league's most respected figures. Smooth, composed, rarely rattled. But this was something else. Bird wasn't just scoring on him, he was taunting him, possession after possession.
The big fight between him and Dr. J, where Moses were holding him back, and Dr. J was swinging. It was like so uncharacteristic of Dr. J. As you guys know, Dr. J,
Right.
I mean, he's the nicest guy in the world.
Definitely.
But Larry had scored like 35 on him halfway through the third quarter and was just jogging back down the court and said, "Man, you need to retire."
As the game went on, tensions boiled. Every time Bird hit another shot, he let Julius know about it. And finally, midway through the third quarter, Erving had enough. In an instant, both players were holding each other by the throat, swinging as teammates and referees rushed in to break it up. The crowd went wild, the benches cleared, and chaos took over. The sight of two MVPs physically going at it shocked everyone, but it also showed just how much Bird's words could get inside your head.
You know, stomping, and he was in front of his bench, and it looked like a moment in which he was going to take a swing. And it was very uncharacteristic because, you know, we did Converse commercials together. We did Spalding commercials together. So, you know, we were kind of cool.
Afterward, teammates said Bird never looked shaken. He walked off calm, almost amused, while the arena buzzed with disbelief. It wasn't the first time he'd talked his way into someone's skin, but it was the first time it ended with punches instead of points. Years later, Dr. J would look back on that night and make one thing clear. He and Bird were never friends, especially on the court. There was respect, sure, but no warmth. He said Bird played with an edge that left no room for friendship, that once the ball tipped, it was war.
The irony is we did get along. It's just that when somebody plays for Boston and somebody else plays for Philly, if you have to get on the court and play with one another, I don't care if it's your mother. You're not supposed to get along.
That night became one of the most replayed moments of Bird's career. Not because of the brawl itself, but because it captured everything about him. The unshakable confidence, the relentless competitiveness, the ability to make even legends lose their cool. Larry Bird didn't fight to prove anything. He just played so well and talked so much that eventually someone else had to snap first. And that brings us to someone who saw it all from the other side. Byron Scott. He was a young guard with the Lakers back then, watching two of the league's biggest stars nearly come to blows.
He was the biggest trash talker that I've ever seen.
Ever.
Okay, you just answered my question.
One of the biggest ever.
Man,
he told
people
me,
don't realize how much
this is a funny story.
Scott would later recall how surreal it was to see Bird and Dr. J, two calm, composed stars, lose it like that. But to him, it perfectly summed up what Larry Bird did to people. He got under your skin, broke your rhythm, and made even legends snap. And for Byron, that wasn't the only time he'd seen Bird do it firsthand. It was Game 4 of the 1984 NBA Finals, Celtics versus Lakers. The series was tied, tension was boiling, and every possession felt like a fight for history. The Garden crowd was deafening, knowing how much this matchup meant: Bird versus Magic, Boston versus LA, Pride versus Pride. However, the media was beginning to rule the Celtics out of this series.
Well, Magic Johnson has been actually kicking dust in the faces of the Boston Celtics. He's been absolutely sensational.
Larry Bird wasn't just playing for a championship. He was willing himself into legend. That game wasn't pretty. It was a war. Players were getting thrown to the floor, tempers flaring after every whistle. But through the chaos, one player never blinked. Bird was bleeding, sweating, jawing, doing everything to keep Boston alive. On the other side, Magic Johnson was orchestrating like a maestro. He was feeding Kareem, pushing the pace and silencing the Boston crowd with every fast break. It was the perfect back-and-forth duel, finesse versus fire. Then came the moment that changed everything. Late in the fourth quarter, with the game hanging by a thread, Bird went to the huddle and said the now famous words, "Give me the ball and get out of the way." Everyone knew what that meant. He wasn't asking for the shot, he was claiming it.
There's a story going around where Casey Jones was drawing up a play, and you guys were all in the huddle, and I guess he was having a hard time saying it. Larry told him, "Hey, give me the ball, and the rest of you guys get the hell out the way." Is that true?
The story behind that, Kevin was the one that had the hot hand. But as we all know, Larry's the man, and that's Larry's team. So Larry should take the first shot. But KC was torn between drawing up something for Kevin because he had the hot hand and not offending Larry. So Larry just took the F over. Draw up a play for me and give me the ball and get out of my way.
The ball found him in his spot on the left baseline. Magic switched onto him, trying to stay in front, but Bird's body language said it all. Calm, steady, surgical. One dribble, a hard pivot, rise, and release. The turnaround jumper arced perfectly over Magic's outstretched hand.
Avoids the steal. Gets it over to DJ. Bird goes right into the pivot. Now DJ holds the ball. Back in the Bird. The ball away is gone. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Boston Celtics have even this NBA World Championship Series.
Swish! Game winner. The forum was shocked. Bird didn't celebrate wildly. He just turned, fists clenched, face cold as stone. It was the ultimate statement. He'd told everyone what was going to happen, and he delivered again. That Game 4 shot wasn't just a clutch bucket. It was the embodiment of Larry Bird's entire career, calling his shot, talking his talk, and walking away the winner. The Lakers had the flash, the speed, the Showtime glow. But on that night, the legend of Bird burned brighter. As for Byron Scott, who was watching it unfold in front of him, one thing became crystal clear. Larry Bird wasn't just a great player. He was the nastiest trash talker the game had ever seen.
And the thing that I loved about him is that he was a talker. And I wish you would have got a chance to play against him, Robert, because I swear to God, you'd have loved playing against him because the dude would just tell you where he's going, shoot it in your face, talk to you, and run back down the floor.
Yeah.
And he was just one of those guys that, you know, he just had it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He had it, and I saw it in college, and obviously saw it a whole lot closer when we get a chance to play against the Celtics. He was the biggest trash talker back in the day, but he would back it up.
Larry Bird's legend isn't built just on stats or trophies. It's built on moments. Moments where words met action, where confidence turned into prophecy, from calling his shots before they happened to making Hall of Famers lose their cool. Bird turned trash talk into an art form that no one has ever quite replicated. Norm Nixon learned it firsthand, thinking Bird was bluffing, until those threes started falling and the crowd erupted. Dr. J felt it when pride and frustration boiled over in one unforgettable clash. Byron Scott saw it at its peak, when Bird called for the ball, hit the game winner over Magic, and once again proved that everything he said, he meant. What made Bird different wasn't just that he talked, it was that he always delivered. Every taunt came with a highlight, every threat with a result. He didn't need flash, speed, or flair. He had conviction, control, and an unshakable belief that he could beat anyone standing in front of him. Even decades later, players still talk about him like he was part myth, part machine, the quiet assassin who could break you with a sentence, then finish you with a shot. So now the question's on you. Was Larry Bird the greatest trash talker in NBA history? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into NBA legends.